So welcome to Proud's Mayoral Candidate Forum. Thank you for attending and expressing your interest in the upcoming mayoral race here in Ferguson. Tonight, we welcome both candidates for the office of Mayor of Ferguson. We look forward to learning more about each candidate's vision for Ferguson as they answer your questions and share their experiences and perspectives for building a stronger community. We need to go over a few things before introducing the candidates. We're going to go over the forum schedule tonight, what Proud's mission is. We're the sponsor of the forum, the format for the forum, and then the conversational agreements that we ask the candidates and the audience to abide by. And each of you who got in may have gotten a copy of those, but we'll go over those. So as far as the event schedule, so the first 5 minutes is just welcoming, which we're doing right now. The next 5 minutes after that would be reading and accepting the conversational agreements, make sure everybody understands that. Then we're going to have a coin toss to determine which candidates speak first. And I've got a special coin here. It's a US penny. They're not made anymore. We're going to use a penny for our coin toss. Then the opening statements. The candidates will each have 5 minutes for their introductory comments. And we're hoping to get to the opening statements by 6:15. Then by 6:25 on that time schedule, we'll be ready for questions from the attendees. And each candidate will have 3 minutes to respond to each question. And then we'll be given 2 minutes for rebuttal if they choose. The speaking order for each question will alternate after the first coin toss. The candidates need to stay on topic when answering questions. And each candidate will answer each question. So the questions are going to come from the audience. They'll be submitted on 3x5 cards. I see our moderator, Dr. Dwayne James, has come. So just so you know, Dr. James, the cards on white will be from the audience. The ones coming in online will be on the pink cards. Some people in the back are writing those down. And they'll be passed off to the moderator, and he'll just choose them at random. The questions coming in online will be written down and the cards passed along. Now, all the questions are going to be given to a person who's not a Proud member, Carolyn Rendazzo, to examine them to make sure they meet the conversational agreements. So questions that don't meet the conversational agreements will not be passed on to the moderator for asking. Time is very limited. There may not be time to go through all the questions. The library closes at 8 p.m., so we have to have a hard stop at 7:45 or so, giving us a few minutes to close up, shut everything down, and get everybody out. For those watching on Zoom, a question was asked, and you do have the ability to turn on closed captioning. One of the optional features within your Zoom window will allow you to turn it on. You don't have to turn it on if you want it. Some people that have hearing issues might want closed captioning. And the recording that we're making will have closed captioning embedded in the recording. So if you're watching the recording later, you'll see that. So Proud's mission is to sponsor opportunities that will encourage Ferguson residents to work together to build a community of harmony and equity within a diverse group of people. Proud encourages people to share their ideas and priorities with one another, to develop appreciation and respect for one another. All of our events are designed to encourage participation by all members of the Ferguson community, and that encompasses a wide variety of opinions and political views. Now, as you heard from our mission statement, Proud is apolitical, meaning we don't take any political stands. We're a 501c3 community organization, and we take that obligation seriously. We neither support nor oppose any candidates. In fact, there are Proud members, including some of our executive board members, who will be voting for both the candidates. Our opinions differ within Proud. We're not monolithic. We like to listen to diverse opinions, and that's a large part of our mission. Now, proud members are active, many proud members are active in city and state politics to varying degrees. Each member has the First Amendment right, and we're all blessed by that in our US Constitution, to express ourselves as concerned citizens. However, any member, any proud member that speaks or acts as a representative of Proud has to abide by our mission statement, by our obligations as a non-for-profit community organization, and by the will and direction of our fellow Proud members. So this forum is an extension of Proud's mission, and I just want to read, a lot of this stuff was on our website. If you went to it beforehand, you might have seen it. So our forums, the forums that we hold, have a different purpose than the forums provided by the League of Women Voters. Our forums are not debates. They're meant to be conversations. There's no interest in our forums in choosing winners or losers. The emphasis is on sharing proposals and visions for bettering the city. The forums are designed to be a good venue for the candidates to inform voters. In preparation for our candidate forums, all correspondence to candidates has been equally shared between both candidates. Our events committee members and officers refrained from discussing politics and the forum with candidates unless everything was discussed. Everything that was discussed was immediately shared with both candidates. So we wanted to be fair to both candidates. We do everything in our power to comply with our not-for-profit status and ensure a fair and unbiased environment for the candidates. So now I'm going to read the conversational agreements, and if you have those handy, you can follow along with me. So our events, we try to make them successful because they bring people together of goodwill to express their views frankly and constructively. To achieve this success, Proud uses the following conversational agreements. So the moderator, Dr. James, he'll be up here in a few minutes, will control the order of comments for the event. A timekeeper is going to be provided. In fact, it's going to be me. I'll be sitting at the table, let the candidates know how much time they have left. This forum is going to be videotaped. And the videos will be posted to Proud's website and Facebook page. This little thing here called an owl, it's right in front of, on the front of the table there. It's capturing a continuous 360-degree view of the room. So everyone in the room needs to be aware that you may show up on the video. It's seeing the whole room, and that'll all be on the recording. No campaign literature or other handouts will be permitted, except at the tables provided when you came in. You saw those tables there. We ask the candidates and the audience to keep your comments specific to the event's topics. Listen carefully. Do not interrupt. This is more aimed at you guys. Disagreeing is okay as long as it's done respectfully. Listen with an open mind. Assume others are speaking in good faith. Be respectful of all participants. No personal attacks. Speak with honesty. Recognize each event attendee as an individual, not as a representative of a group. Seek clarification in a respectful way. Agree to disagree when necessary. After speaking, give others a chance before speaking again. I hate to have to read this, but I have to read it. Any attendee whose conduct is deemed by the moderator to be detrimental to the orderly proceedings of the event will be asked to leave. We hope that doesn't happen. So we ask that everyone in the audience, in attendance, candidates and audience will abide by these agreements. If you agree with Proud's mission and how we structure our events, please consider joining Proud. It's open to all community members. You can learn more about us and how to join by checking on our website at www.proud-ferguson.org. And that does it for the introduction. And Dr. Dwayne James, our moderator for tonight, he'll be coming up, and I'll turn it over to him, and maybe you can introduce the candidates. And were you here when I showed the coin that we're going to use?
Yeah, the penny.
The penny, you got that.
thought you were gonna do the coin toss. I'm like, hello, everyone. How are we doing tonight? Oh, I love the response. That's wonderful. Wonderful. I love that. As Jerry said, my name is Dwayne T. James. I will be your moderator for today, which means I will make sure that I do a good enough job reading the questions that you put in place. So on that note, hello, Adrian. Hello. How are you? All right. So we'll start with the coin toss.
Yep.
All right.
Is there heads on that? Yeah. Is it a Lincoln? Is it a Lincoln? What is it?
You asked me all these questions on this note. Yes, there is a head and there is not a tail, but a non-heads.
There you go.
We don't know which one, who is who though.
One of you guys.
I'll be heads.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Okay, all right.
Oh, it's a runaway.
Everyone agree? It's heads? All right.
Okay.
Which means what? You.
You start first, yeah.
So we'll start by having each candidate provide 5 minutes for their introduction. So with that, Nick, you will be the first one with their 5 minutes to provide your introduction.
And where's the time?
So Jared will be the.
Yeah, I've got, so I'll do, yeah, so 5 minutes, but I'll do, when you're down to 1 minute, 30 seconds and stop.
I see.
Okay.
All right, well, thanks to everybody for coming. It's a great crowd tonight. Thanks to Proud and the Ferguson Library for hosting us. And congratulations to Jeff Finnegan for ascending to the presidency last week. We need a mayor who has attention to detail, comprehensive knowledge, team building skills, and a focus on customer service. We need a mayor who has the tools to lead, not just somebody who can show up at meetings. And I'm this evening going to illustrate the difference between myself and Mr. Shropshire in those regards. Now, a few things that are important points here. Public safety is what's on everybody's mind. I know that. We had 5 murders in the first 2 months of this year. And one of those who was killed was a young lady from Edwardsville. Edwardsville has had 3 murders in the last 14 years, and they've got a substantially larger population than Ferguson. People aren't going to choose to live here or visit our businesses if they believe that their personal safety and property are in danger. We'll end up with failing businesses and residents who move here because they couldn't do any better. We need a fully staffed police department, and our current chief and council have done a good job in moving us in that direction. We also need court reform so that we can hold chronic offenders accountable. We don't have that right now, but I've got a plan to make that happen. Regarding housing, we need to be proactive. Our apartment complexes end up in the news fairly regularly, and not for good reason. And what we need to start doing is patrolling those apartment complexes. Code enforcement can take a slow ride through an apartment complex once a week. And that way, when there's big problems, they get written up in advance rather than showing up on Channel 4 where people are getting thrown out of their apartments. We also need to continue with tear downs, and council has funded a good number of them this year. I'm going to push to keep that up next year. We need to have a plan to do infill development, and Councilor Palmer is here this evening. He's done some building here in Ferguson, and hopefully he can come up with something, and we can get other builders in here to really move that forward. Because vacant lots are worthless. And finally, we need to support the Ferguson Neighborhood Improvement Program. It's provided financial assistance to hundreds of residents to keep up the appearance of their home. And they've also been the first organization in St. Louis County to use the abandoned housing statute to save abandoned houses from having to be torn down. So FNIP funding is a priority of mine. Ferguson is struggling financially as a city government, and this year's budget was a real challenge. We need to find revenue sources, and for better or for worse, the Emerson campus is one of the few opportunities we have to substantially increase assessed value in the city. We need a mayor who negotiates with open eyes, but also with an open mind, and who will push for a deal that protects our residents and generates serious revenue for the city. I will do that as your next mayor in conjunction with our city council and staff that are involved in the ongoing negotiations. We moved to Ferguson because it was an urban community, the kind of place we wanted to live. We were delighted to move onto a block where Black and white neighbors were friends and where race really didn't matter amongst neighbors, at least on our block. A lot of things have changed since then. Some of them not for the better. We've righted some serious wrongs in this community. I know a lot of people who did that work are here this evening, and I was happy to play a small part in it as well. But it can't be Groundhog Day in Ferguson, where we continue to litigate the same thing over and over again a decade later. We need to make the changes that are needed and move forward as a unified community. There's not many places in St. Louis where you'll have a room where there are Black folks and white folks together like this. And that's something Ferguson can be proud of. I'm proud to have been a part of that, and I hope to serve you as your next mayor, continuing to bring this community together. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, next up, Adrian.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Adrian Shropshire. I live at 709 Forest Avenue in the great city of Ferguson, Missouri. Let me tell you a little bit about me. I know everybody's wondering, who is this Adrian Shropshire guy? Well, Adrian Shropshire moved here from Ohio. Matter of fact, I lived in Springfield, Ohio. I've been living here in Ferguson for approximately 36 years. I moved here to work construction as a union carpenter. When I moved here, I worked another 15 years, which I retired at the age of 55. I was fortunate to be able to do that. And ever since I retired, I decided to give all my time into our city, which does need good, healthy citizens that care about our city. As time went on, I decided to participate with Ferguson Youth Initiative. I'm a big youth person. I've been with Ferguson Youth Initiative now for probably about almost 15 years. Dwayne brought me in, and a lady named Jill Babcock. She was one of the directors. Probably some of you people remember Jill. I mean, not Jill, but Gail. Sorry, Gail Babcock. She was really, really about the youth. And I'm about the youth too. I hear a lot about, well, he's old. He's an old man. Well, wisdom comes with experience. And that's what I have. I have wisdom to be able to relate to people. One of my main goals is to unify our community. I want to take away the divide. I want to bring us all together, because if I don't, our city will not move forward. We want to come together and work this city together. A little bit about me and what I do. Some of my projects, or some of the boards that I sit on. I work with the Ferguson Police Department on the citizens interview panel. I interview police officers as they come into our city. And we really have stringent guidelines for our police officers when they come in. I volunteer on the Police Officers Training Committee, which we do. We set up the training manual for the police officers in which they are trained in an extra 300 hours. To come here is not an easy place to become a police officer. You really have to want to be here. And the officers that we are hiring now, or that we are interviewing, they want to be here. We have an excellent police force. And I'm proud to be able to say, I helped interview these officers. And the chief does look at our opinions on how we feel about the officers. I'm in the Neighborhood Policing and Steering Committee, which we work hand in hand with law enforcement, not as a out in the field and banging and going to here and there and working here. We just sit back and watch how they perform. We set up the municipal code for the courts. That was a real challenge back in 2015. So right now, we are heavily involved within our city as the MPSC. I've worked with the, matter of fact, I want to say one thing. I went to work for Katrina. That gave me a lot of hands-on skills to be able to run an operation. When I went to work for Katrina, I worked the portal. And that was a lot of administrative work. That was a lot of dealings with people and understanding their needs. And I listened. And that's one thing about me, I am a listener. And you can feel free to come to me at any time as me being your next mayor. And I will listen to what you want. I'm not out of touch with the community. I'm a citizen outside this suit. I'm a citizen just like everybody else is. And that's one of my strengths. I don't have a closed ear, I have an open ear, and I'm going to represent you citizens. Thank you.
Now we'll have questions from the attendees. So each candidate would have 3 minutes to respond to each question. After both have responded, each candidate would then have 2 minutes each for rebuttal, up to 2 minutes and up to 3 minutes. And so we will go through as many questions as possible from our attendees that are in person and also our attendees that are online as well. So with that. Here are some questions.
And Dwayne, I think the ones that are written on pink cards would be the ones that came in online.
Correct.
So you can tell, okay.
Yep. All right, let's start off with the first question, and we are alternating between the responders. And so since Nick went first, we'll have Adrian go first this time with your 3 minutes. The question is, how important do you think it is to abide by our charter, both in spirit and letter? And will you honor the boundaries as mayor as set forth by the charter? So how important do you think it is to abide by our charter, both in spirit and letter? And will you honor the boundaries as mayor as set forth by the charter?
Good question. I follow the rules. And that's one thing I've always done all my life, is follow the rules. When I worked construction, I had to follow the rules. So the charter is the rule book of our city. And I will enforce the charter immensely. I won't play around. I won't deviate, not 1 ounce. I am a rule follower and I'm a stickler to the rules. And if I don't feel I know everything, I will go to the charter and look it up. That's the city's Bible. And that's the way I look at that. I hear the mayor, I hear the councils going over the charter. Well, let's check the charter. The charter says this, the charter says that. Well, you know one thing? I learned from the charter. I learned what it takes, what the charter says on how to run our city. That is what our city is set up on a charter. We are a charter city, and we are a city that is ran by a city manager. So with those 2 things in place, I will be our mayor of Ferguson and follow the rules. That's one thing about me. You'll never catch me not following rules. Sometimes I'll have to really dig deep. I'm the chairperson of the planning and zoning. I know what it is to follow the ordinance. That's important. So the charter ordinances are basically in the same book to me. Follow that, you can't go wrong. Thank you.
Nick, you're 3 minutes.
So I know a few things about following the charter. I've been on council for a couple of years, and one of the things I hate about being on council is any dealing I have with staff has to be through the city manager, because council members are prohibited from directing staff. When I was just regular people, if there was a pothole, I could email the director of public works, and he may or may not do what I say, but I can send him an email. As a member of council, you can't do that because of the charter. And we've had council members in the past that ran astray of that. We had a council member who was inappropriately dealing with staff, who was harassing our city manager, and I led the recall, and some of you worked on it, to have her removed from office. So my commitment to the charter goes way back, from years before I was even on council. Now, as a member of council, the charter is vital, and I'm familiar with the charter. I'm the guy who goes to the charter when we have a disagreement, and every now and then we bring the attorney in, but I think I've got a perfect batting average when my opinion has gone to the attorney so far. In addition to the charter, though, there's a few other things that are related and that are important to me. The golden rule for me is the Sunshine Law, and that's a state law. It's not the charter, but it governs Missouri, the city of Ferguson. We've had sunshine compliance problems in the past, and I've worked with the city to try to move past those. I also introduced legislation which made small sunshine requests from residents a no-charge thing. So if you've got a sunshine request that's under $5 and it's for non-commercial purposes, it used to be you'd have to put it in, you'd have to go down to the city, you'd have to pay them in the office, you'd go away, you'd come back whenever they got it done. And it was really a burden for the residents who just wanted to have information that belongs to them as a resident of this city. So I authored and introduced a bill that made those a no charge for those small requests. And so the Sunshine Law, vital thing. Campaign finance compliance, another state law that's always been vital to me. But the charter, of course, is the founding document of the city. And I've got a long track record with it and love the charter.
Adrian, you have 2 minutes, up to 2 minutes to rebuttal if you choose.
No, I'm fine.
You're fine. All right. Let's go on to our next question. There are so many questions that I'm trying to group and theme and all of that. So excuse me for, okay. So let's go with this question. All right. What concrete evidence can you point to that shows you are prepared to not just serve, but to lead? What makes you a good candidate for mayor?
That's a great question. And what I would point to is my track record in 2 years on the Ferguson City Council. When I was elected to council, it was a 3-way race. It was a contentious one, or 4-way race, excuse me. And it was a contentious one. And when I came in, the first day, I got blasted from the dais by our mayor. Rough start, right? But I'm delighted to say, first of all, that the mayor and I, over the 2 years that we've served together, have worked out a respect for each other and an ability to work together for the good of the city that I'm really delighted by. I love Mayor Jones, and I trust her, and that's saying a lot considering where we started on that first night. The other thing that I would say from my track record is the number one job of the members of council is legislation. And everybody knows we've basically got several people on council that votes one way and several people that votes another way, and we don't always agree. So I've authored and introduced 18 bills during the time I was on council so far, those 2 years. 12 of those bills were passed unanimously, and 4 of the remaining 6 were passed by a 6-1 vote. So, you know, we duke it out on council. We argue about, you know, we don't always agree on things. We all got strong personalities, or we probably wouldn't be up here in the first place. But I believe that when you have good ideas and you explain them well and you treat your colleagues with respect and you give them ample notice and you negotiate with them, you can get big things done for the city. That's leadership. And it's what I've done in conjunction with my colleagues over the last 2 years on council. I would continue to do that as mayor and be mayor for all the city. That's my commitment and it's my track record. Thank you.
Adrian?
Leadership. To me, leadership is not power. I've been a leader of men, and I've been a leader of youth. And let me say one thing. I've been a leader of a crew of 15 men on a construction site. Leading the city, you have to lead and be a leader to everyone in the city. I'm a uniter. When I had my football team, I united the team together. Leadership comes with experience and wisdom. And I know how to bring people together. I know how to talk to people, and I listen. And I understand your needs. One more time, I'm a citizen too. And my needs are your needs, and my concerns are your concerns. And that's what makes me a good leader. I am a leader of the whole city. Everybody here, I'm that person because I listen with an open mind. I do not pass judgment on anyone. That's critical because I'm gonna get questions from both sides, men and women. Hey, I want this, I want that. And I will be able to listen and make a good judgment of what everybody's talking about. Leadership, one more time, is not power. And I'm here to listen and I'm here to learn. I might not know everything right now, and I'm gonna say that. I probably don't, but nobody knows everything. And when everybody started out on council, they learned. Nobody, even the mayor right now, she learned how to be a good mayor. This Councilman Kassoff, he had never been on council before. He learned how to be a good councilman and write the bills. And be there as a leader on the council. So I feel I can do the same thing. Just give me a chance. We all learn as we go on any job. We learn. And the minute you think you know it all, you're a failure. And that's what I've learned, and that's how I feel about leadership. Thank you.
2 minutes to rebuttal. You good? Okay. All right. So feeding off of both of your responses in the last question, what would you do to promote mutual respect between the council men and council women? What would you do to promote mutual respect between the council men and council women? Adrian.
Little do a lot of people know, there's a code of conduct. And that is funny, the question was asked. Because I want to unite our council together. No more going back and forth. Respect, mutual respect, because everybody has an opinion. And we have to learn how to respect everybody's opinion. And if we start going by the code of conduct and enforce it and understand this is the way the council is supposed to be ran, just like the charter. Going back to the charter says how the council shall be ran, how many meetings you can miss before you have a problem with the council. All that's in the charter. So I will use the code of conduct and the citizens. I can't enforce it with one without doing the other. But I would want to unite our council. So when there's a disagreement, we understand each other, that everybody has a right to speak and be heard and respect and not talk over each other, not give snarly remarks. Let's just be together. Let's just unite and move our city forward. When our council is making bad decisions and arguing, that reflects on our city. And I'm serious, it does. I hear people in Ohio, what's wrong with your council? California, Texas, Michigan, all around. I have friends there that tune into our council meetings. And they say, what is the problem? Well, we haven't been going by the code of conduct. And I hope if I become mayor, that we can go and honor the code of conduct that has been set up for the council and for the mayor to go by. Thank you.
When we had the little blow up about a year ago, I actually learned something I didn't know about our charter, which doesn't happen every day, but it happened then. I believed that for egregious misconduct, we could impeach somebody, and I was wrong. And some people were really mad at me because I thought we could do it. It was a learning experience. We have a code of conduct which has even less ability to control people than the charter itself. So saying we have a code of conduct, that's very good. But what we need to do as council members, and I've offered people to read my emails from time to time, and nobody's taken me up on it. But if we communicate with each other with professionalism and respect, that is what it takes for council to be working together. Council members don't need to be acting the fool toward each other. That's not necessary. And it's not productive, and it doesn't move our council or our city forward. I would tell you that if you were to read all my emails, and I don't have time for it now, but if someday somebody want to sit down and do that, I've got to shove all the confidential ones off to the side because there's closed session. We have closed session stuff in there that's flagged. But other than that, when Eric Osterberg was here, he showed me the city he used to work in. All the council members' emails were online. You could just log on to the city website and read your council members' emails. And he was going to put that in place here, but he departed before it happened, unfortunately. I would love if y'all could read council emails, because it would give you a whole new insight into the dynamics of what happens here. I'll say this, I've worked in the business world for 30 years. There's stuff that's said in those council emails that would get you fired from your job. Same thing with text messages between council members. There's things that you wouldn't believe, and they don't come from me. This I promise you. And if somebody wants to look through my text messages or emails, we'll do that sometime. But professionalism and courtesy, that's where it starts.
Up to Commissioner for rebuttal.
I agree with Councilman Cassoff. But let me say one thing. I believe in integrity. I believe in trustworthiness. I believe in dependability and accountability. And when you sit on the dais and when you're mayor, those are things that the citizens look for out of a council person and out of the mayor. And those are things that if I become mayor, I will look towards my council members to be that, to uphold those 4 words. And I really believe in that. I live my life on integrity and trustworthiness and dependability and accountability. Thank you.
Mayor Jones has been doing that for years, and she's getting better at it, but it's been a heck of a battle for her. You've got 6 strong-minded people plus the mayor, and I'll say this. Sometimes when you see bickering, it's your council members working out disagreements and trying to determine what's best for the community. If you got 6 people on the council that always nod their heads and agree with each other about everything, you've got an even bigger problem on your hands than squabbling, honestly.
Moving on to our next question. Community members often feel engaged but not heard. How will you ensure that residents and grassroots organizations have real decision-making power and not just a seat at the table in shaping our policies that impact our local community and our lives? Community members often feel engaged but not heard. How will you ensure that residents and grassroots organizations have real decision-making power and not just a seat at the table in shaping policies that impact our local community and our lives? Nick, I believe you're up first.
Well, that's an interesting question because we have boards and commissions, but boards and commissions by the charter do not have real decision-making power. They're advisory boards to the council. And there's a few exceptions to that, but generally speaking, they don't. But look, what we really need is to have council members and a mayor that have a relationship with people in the community, that are present and hear the community in a lot of different ways, and that communicate with the community effectively and frequently. And I've been doing that for years. I'm more of an online person, but you know, and some of you aren't, and so I try to get to meetings when I can, but whether it's a pothole or an opinion about a bill or your street lights out or there's a house on your block that needs attention, I take probably 100 messages a month from people by phone, by text, by messenger, and it's about all kinds of things. So for me, what it's about is being accessible. When the weather's nice and we're getting back into that, I had what I call cheers, jeers, and beers, which is I have events on the front porch of my house. I cook some barbecue on the smoker. I get a refrigerator full of beer, and anybody is always welcome to come over. You can come over if you love me, and you can come over if you're mad at me and you want to chew me out. It doesn't matter. That's why it's cheers, jeers, and beers. And I think it's important to do things like that. Out in Creve Coeur, the mayor has coffee every so often, and they put signs up around the city. I like barbecue better than coffee, and I like beer better than coffee too. So that's why I do it in the evening, and we have barbecue and beer. And so I don't think anybody needs to feel unheard. It doesn't mean we're going to agree. And there's times when I could be a better listener because I've got a big mouth and it's bigger than my ears, which I got big ears too, but that's what I got teased about when I was a kid. But bottom line deal is, it really, the way you empower the community is through relationships, and the way you have relationships is being available. I've done that for 5 years or more, and I'll continue to do that as your mayor.
Jobs and More STL. That's my nonprofit. I have a workforce training program, and I've reached out to different communities. I've built relationships with smaller cities surrounding us. Because number one, I've had achievers come in from other communities to my nonprofit. And what we do, the words that I quoted to you a few minutes ago, that's what we teach in my nonprofit. We talk about integrity. We talk about self-esteem. We talk about confidence. And what I do, I reach out all around to different communities and talk to their leaders about working with them, bringing youth in to my program. I reach out to youth and adults from 18 to 70 because seniors are still out in the workforce, but it's nothing wrong with getting a train up on customer service skills. There's nothing wrong with showing someone where they're lacking in integrity and trustworthiness. Because those words mean a lot. And that's how I reach out in the communities to bring people in. I reach out to the Urban League. I reach out to the Salvation Army. I reach out to the Boys and Girls Club. And I've worked hand in hand with an organization called Youth Build. We bring people together. I'm a great uniter. People get around me and they just gravitate because of my aura. The way you see me here is the way I am all the time. And that's the way I'll be on council, as your mayor. I'll be this way. So I have the ability to bring organizations together. I am a part of the Chiefs Youth Community Engagement Committee. That's where we reach out to different organizations to bring things together. I've been working with FYI, Ferguson Youth Initiative. I've met different leaders in different other youth programs. This is what I want to do. I want to bring people to the table, and the only way we can do that is to unite them and make them feel comfortable when they come into our city. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna do my best to combine 3 different questions into one, because they all have sort of the same theme. So our city is now majority African American and growing. With that fact, what is your plan to unify and obtain buy-in from this growing population and address systematic racism? How will you measure if it's actually working? And so our city is now majority African American and growing. With that fact, what is your plan to connect, unify, and obtain buy-in from this growing population and address systematic racism? And how will you measure if it's actually working or not? Adrian, you're first.
That's a very good question. I'm about bringing people together. And that's what it's about. I will have a round table of all colors. It don't matter. We have black and white, but we have a big Hispanic community here now. We have Latino. And I tell you, if we sit down around the table and listen to everybody's cry, everybody's wants, everybody's suppression. Everybody's been suppressed. I don't care who you are. You've been faced with the crazy word racism all around. If you worked in industry, if you worked in different corporate developments, you face it's there. Maybe people don't know it. And that's something that maybe you have to sit down and talk and engage with the people. And it's about feeling comfortable. And that's what I would do. I would have a round table and we would sit down, just like we do with the youth. We sit down and talk. We sit down and listen. We write things down and we try to come up with a solution to the problem. There is a solution. No matter what people might think, there is a solution to the whole, it's just not here, it's all over. But if we're compassionate and understanding and want to change the narrative of, I don't like this person, Or, I heard when I moved here, the divide. That's crazy. The divide is not people, it's just some houses built between two areas. But if you're not from here, you think divide is racial. No, it's a row of houses that's dividing one business area from another business area. And I will do my best to sit down and work with people to make them feel comfortable and understand their plight too. Understand why they feel that way. Maybe somebody stepped on their toes in the store or ran a cart up on their heel or something. Voice that out and let's figure out how we can come together as a community and move forward to build our community so we will understand one another. Understanding and respect goes a long ways. And that's what I live my life for. Understanding and being respectful to others. Thank you.
Well, talking about systemic racism in Ferguson is interesting because we've been talking about it here longer than most places. And I think what you see, and if you look around right now, it's a unique place here in Ferguson. You've got a room that's probably about 50-50, and there's very few places in America that you'll see that. You've got some white folks out here that are supporting the black guy and some black voters that'll support me. Again, you don't see that very many places in America. So I think we've come through some experiences in Ferguson that have brought us to a different place. I grew up in a small town in southwestern Ohio, not very far from where Adrian came from, actually, which it was a stop on the Underground Railroad. And my childhood, we all went to the same school. There wasn't no north of Delmar, south of Delmar, anything like, North County black, South County white. We didn't have that. We were just all in the same town. There wasn't even really a correlation between economic and race in the town I grew up in. And so that shaped me to where I went through life, and what I care about is not whether you're black or white or rich or poor or live north of Delmar or south of Delmar. I care about who you are and how you're living. And if you want to talk about racism, here's what's racist to me. If you're a black person in America today, you're 7 times more likely to be murdered than I am. And that murder is 30% less likely to be solved. If you're a black person in America, you're 4 times more likely to be carjacked than I am. That's a serious situation. And to me, I think most of us want the same thing. We want to be able to get up in the morning and go to work and pay our bills, know that our door's not going to get kicked in when we're at work, or our car's not going to get stolen when we're in bed sleeping. And we need to make a community where everybody in Ferguson, whether you're black or white, rich or poor, you have the opportunity to live in safety and security and pursue your dream for life. And you shouldn't have to worry about, oh, that person's going to hate me because I'm black, or that person's going to hate me because I'm white. I think we're building a better place in Ferguson, and it's one of the reasons why I love being here. We took systemic racism by the hair, and we said no more here. And we need to keep doing that in Ferguson, and I'm going to be a part of that.
Adrian, 2 minutes of rebuttal.
Everybody knows this word, poverty. Poverty brings violence. It's not racism. Sometimes it might play a part in it. But poverty, the lack of survival, let me tell you, it's tough out here. When you don't have the have-nots, it's unreal what you're faced again up with. The young men that shot the gentleman that was just honking the horn to let them know, I'm coming by, 2-2, 16, 14. But they came from a poverty family. 9 times out of 10, they didn't have a dad in their family. So that's where I'm at with this. It's more to it than just racism. Guns are so readily available to anyone. So let's put racism on the back burner and look at the real issue. The have-nots, the poverty within our nation brings on violence because they're trying to grab hold to it. They're trying to grab hold of something that is not there because they don't have the means. I'm speaking from my heart. I've lost friends to poverty, violence. I've lost family members. And it hurts my heart to know that, what can we do about it? Our world is set up. If I came from a middle class, working class family, but I had friends that didn't. Thank you.
Poverty's bad. Poverty's crippling. Poverty creates all sorts of stresses and difficulties. Poverty don't make you kill nobody. There's plenty of poor people that are perfectly wonderful people. I'll bet 99% of them are perfectly wonderful people. And there's some rich people that are jerks. There's some rich people that steal. There's some rich people that kill people. But look, people have to be accountable for their decisions and their behavior. And we have to have a society that has values for that. But look, we're talking about municipal government here, folks. The city of Ferguson can do a lot of things, but it can't cure poverty, and really it can't stop people from killing each other either. What we can do in Ferguson, however, is treat every neighborhood equally. And this went back, I remember back in 2009 when I ran for city council. And there were certain neighborhoods, Plaza and Mueller, for example, where people said, we call 911 when we hear shooting and the police don't even come. And now there's people that are afraid to call the police because they call 911 and they get hassled. So we need to make sure that whether you live in Robert Superior or whether you live in 4,000 square feet on Wesley, you're getting treated the same and that your neighborhood is held to the same standards. That's how we have a Ferguson where whether you're rich or poor, black or white, we all can go to sleep at night and feel the same sense of security. That's what we can do as a city right here in Ferguson, where we can't cure the problems of the whole world, but we can make a better home for the people that live here.
Yes. Moving on to our next question, Nick, you will be up first. On zoning, I don't know, just go ahead and laugh at it. All right, it's the first fumble, but it won't be the last, it's okay. On zoning and land use, how will you commit to protecting residential neighborhoods from commercial encroachment? And will there be exceptions made when the right people ask? So on zoning and land use, how will you commit to protecting residential neighborhoods from commercial encroachment? And will there be exceptions made when the right people ask?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was an issue just recently. There's an auto body shop up on Pershall, owned by a guy who I believe lives in St. Charles. And they bought a house in the residential area on Charlotte, tore the house down, covered the lot in gravel, and started parking wrecked cars there. And then they came to the city and they applied to have that lot rezoned as commercial so they could use it forever as a parking lot for junk cars. And we heard from about 10 people on Charlotte, and it's only like 12 houses on the whole street. They went crazy because what happened, the person at the end of the street, this parking lot with junk cars were right across the street from his house. He walked out his front door and he sees junk cars and gravel. And you know that's not right. So it went to planning and zoning. Planning and zoning passed it, and Mr. Shropshire voted for it. It came to city council, and one councilor sponsored the bill for rezoning, and she couldn't even get a second. So it was stopped dead in its tracks. And yeah, that guy, the guy that from St. Charles is mad, but you know what I said? I said, if you had a body shop right outside a neighborhood in St. Peter's or wherever you come from, and you said, we're going to tear down a house in this neighborhood in St. Peter's and park wrecked cars across the street from somebody's house in St. Peter's, they'd probably throw you under the jail for that kind of craziness, right? They wouldn't tolerate that. We're not going to tolerate it here either. Residential neighborhoods need to be preserved. Now, that doesn't mean things don't change over time. And but the first thing you got to do is you got to go speak to the people in the neighborhood. Okay? If they're talking about building a gas station or a Chick-fil-A or a Home Depot or whatever, and they're talking about changing something that's going to affect a neighborhood, the first thing you got to do is go talk to the people in the neighborhood. When I was chair of traffic commission, we did that for traffic. When we wanted to make changes in traffic, speed bumps or whatever, we heard from the community. We talked to the people. And that's what you have to do as a council member as well. None of this nonsense of somebody from St. Charles come in with a lawyer and they're going to rezone. We won't have that. That'll never happen if I'm the mayor.
Good.
Well, one more time. Yes, I am the chair of Planning and Zoning. We are an advisory committee. We've been told that many times. We go by the ordinance. One more time, you asked me about the charter. Now here I am going by the ordinance. And that's what we base our decision on, citizens. We don't play neighborhood, all this going through my neighborhood. We don't get emotional. We go by the ordinance. And if they are abiding by the ordinance, we're going to vote yes. We did give that gentleman some things that he must do. We wanted him to put up a curtain down his fence so the neighbors that do come out in their yard, they won't see the cars. They turned in some name signatures. When you come to planning and zoning, we don't have that. We just get to talk to the people that has the petitioner. That's who we talk to. The council gets all the nuts and the bolts and the steaks and the hams. They get all that. So our job is to go by the ordinance that is in front of us. And that's it. And I'm sorry that the neighbors, that it didn't work out for them. And I wouldn't want it either. Let me be clear. I wouldn't want what they're going through. I get disturbed when we have school buses traveling up our street so fast. I understand trucks coming through your neighborhood. So yes, I feel bad for them, but we went by the ordinance and then we sent it to council. And Councilman Kazoff does his job. That's their job to say, no, you can't have it. We are an advisory group. I want everybody to remember that. Thank you.
Nick, 2 minutes.
Two problems with that. First of all, there's no ordinance that gives them a right to rezone a residential lot into a commercial lot. That's at the discretion of the city. It's not in the ordinance that they have the right. It's a possibility if the city allows it, but generally speaking, spot zoning is frowned upon. Second of all, yes, planning and zoning is an advisory board. And the job of an advisory board is to gather information because council has to consider all kinds of things. And we can't be going out to all the neighborhoods and talking to people. And, you know, traffic commission does speed studies. They've got a radar thing and they check speed on streets to see if it needs a speed bump. We don't do that on council. They gather the information. So we counted on planning and zoning to gather the information, and that didn't happen. So there was a failure there, and there was some really upset people who thought we were getting ready to put a junkyard in their neighborhood. Now, thankfully, they came to council and they let us know where planning and zoning didn't, and we blocked it. But this kind of thing happens all the time, and we have to be able to rely on it. We also have to understand what the law is. So another thing in planning and zoning is that they opposed an auto body shop on South Florissant, which was a violation of state law because it was a non-conforming use under our current zoning code, an auto sales place, the Slick Automotive. But once you have a non-conforming use in place under state law, that non-conforming use is allowed forever. So that was another failure of planning and zoning where they weren't following the law, and council had to step in and correct that.
Yes, 2 minutes.
One more time, we are an advisory group. We rely on staff to give us our directions. So if staff isn't doing their job, how can you expect our volunteers, we are volunteers on an advisory group, if we don't get leadership from city staff, it's a breakdown over here. And that's one thing that I see, because we're just now getting qualified people in as a planning and zoning coordinator and a community development coordinator. We lacked people with those skills in our city. So yes, the trickle down does come to the planning and zoning committee, but our leaders are staff. And if we don't have the leadership from the city, we're going to be failures as our committee. And we're doing better now, because we have good staff people in place that care about our city, that want us to go in the right direction, that want us to go by the ordinances, that make sure that when something comes to us, all the facts are there. We were lacking facts and we were lacking leadership from the city. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, next question. Adrian, you are up first this time. How should elected officials handle conflicts of interest, favoritism, and recusal? Please give an example of an issue that would cause you to recuse yourself if it came before the city council. So how should elected officials handle conflicts of interest, favoritism, and recusal? Please give an example of an issue that would cause you to recuse yourself if it came before the city council. Adrian is first.
In the revised version of the charter, it says no employee of the city, no acting officer of the city shall do business with the city. And we're talking about council. We're talking about employees in public works. We're talking about employees, administrative employees. They cannot do business. They cannot buy any property with the city. They cannot do any kind of negotiation as far as buying any type of, when they have options, that is city property and you are on council. I don't feel that's right to be able to do any kind of business, any kind of property buying in our city. Think about it. You got the inside. I don't want to run business like that. I don't run business like that. If you are on our staff, if you are on council, and you are, say, for example, real estate.
Yeah.
Something comes up about transferring properties. Should you not vote? Oh, I don't know. What's the charter say? That's where I'm at. I'm not one to make the decision. We just talked about what the charter is supposed to do. Let me open the book up. Okay, let's see here. And it says, no officer of the city, and that includes the council. And that includes the city manager. That includes the assistant city manager, shall do business with the city. Thank you.
Yeah, 3 minutes.
Well, that's not exactly what the law says. I've got the law right here. Any member of the city council who has a substantial or private interest in any measure, bill, order, or ordinance proposed or pending before the city council must disclose that interest to the city, and such disclosure shall be recorded in the appropriate journal of the city council. That's what the city ordinance says. Now, if somebody is in the real estate business and the city has a program where they're giving cheap houses to people that need to be rehabbed, no, that city council person shouldn't have the inside track. They shouldn't get a special advantage. But let's be serious about this for a minute, because I know exactly what whoever asked that question is talking about. They're talking about this man sitting right here who got property restoration program houses. Now, that was open to the public. Anybody could get one. I could have gone in and got one before I was even on council, but you know what? I can't rehab a house. I can't do that anymore than I could do heart surgery. So I wasn't in there. And I think most people here weren't either. There were requirements that you had to have that house fixed up in a certain amount of time. We had a couple of other people that came in and got those houses. And unfortunately, the other people who got them never finished the rehabs. There was a house across the street from somebody I know on Castro, and somebody got that house on the property restoration program. It had been sitting there rotting away for years. And it sat there and rotted away for another year or two after this PRP guy got it. And the city ended up having to tear it down, and it's a vacant lot now. Personally, looking at that house, I wouldn't have taken it for free. It was a disaster. But he said he was going to get it and rehab it and make it a Section 8 house and whatever. And he never so much as hammered one nail in that house. So if you're going to say nobody can participate, well, should council members be prohibited from getting FNIP grants? I mean, you know, then maybe council members shouldn't be allowed to have their streets plowed when it snows. Maybe the plow blade should come up right before the city council member's house and then put it down on the other side. I mean, let's be serious, people.
All right, let's say. Adrian, you have 2 minutes. What is it about?
Let's make one thing clear. I never pointed to anyone. Mr. Palmer is a good businessman. You can't hate what Mr. Palmer does. He is a businessman. And there's other people that's been on our council that did rentals, that had properties that I felt shouldn't be able to purchase anything. And there's a small revision in our library that quotes exactly what I said. I read it, I memorized it. But It's not fair to point fingers and call names. I was just merely making a statement. So, Mr. Palmer, I'm sorry if you, or anything like that, that your name came up. But I wasn't pointing any fingers at anybody because there's been 2 or 3 other council members that have properties around town that used to be on council. So I just want to make that clear to everyone. Thank you.
There's only one person on council who's done PRP. Let's be serious. And this question has been raised over and over and over again. It's been to the city attorney. We all know who's talking about who. And, you know, Mr. Shropshire can sit here and smile and say he didn't mean nothing. And he didn't ask the question. Somebody else did. But look, we all know what the question was about. And that's what the law says. The city attorney reviewed it. Now, there's state laws about conflict of interest too. None are being violated. If you want city council members who have no stake in the community at all, keep up that line of reasoning. Because you know what? If I'm a homeowner, I have a conflict of interest in voting in favor of FNIP because it only gives money to homeowners. So that's a conflict. We have to be serious about the fact that there's laws and we follow them. We've got a city attorney who reviews what we're doing. I've never had a PRP house, by the way. And like I said, I could sooner do heart surgery than rehab a house. But the fact of the matter is, being in a particular line of business doesn't mean you can't be on city council. That's ridiculous.
Next question is you first. As mayor, what does support for small businesses look like for you?
So small business is business in Ferguson. I mean, we all know the big bucks go to Walmart and Schnucks and Sam's, but small business is what fills up Main Street. And our Main Street is lacking, to be honest. We've got a great Ferguson business district with a president who is a realtor and who's really plugged into Ferguson. I know that they plan to expand the things they're doing with Ferguson businesses, but we have to do more as a city also. One of the things that's really detrimental to Ferguson is when people come here and their car gets broken into. And it happens a lot, and we don't hear about it unless you happen to be around when a police officer is talking, or you know a business owner and it happened in their parking lot. But when that person comes here from Clayton or Creve Coeur or Florissant or whatever to eat at one of our restaurants, and while they're in there eating, somebody smashes in their window and steals something from their car, not only aren't they coming back, but they're going home and telling all their friends, well, I went to Ferguson and they bashed my window in. I guess I'll go out to dinner in Chesterfield next time. So we have to have a safe downtown. That's how we support small business, number one. Second of all, the Ferguson Business District had a plan to make traffic through downtown, one lane on each side with a center lane and parking on the sides, like the Del Mar Loop, okay? It would make it basically impossible for these people that want to go 70 miles per hour past the police station. You can't go 70 miles per hour through the Del Mar Loop because the road not set up that way. That plan was paid for through a traffic engineer by the Ferguson Business District 20 years ago and then put on a shelf. I've talked to the fire chief, and he used to have a problem. He's okay with it now. We need to move forward with that plan to slow traffic down in our business district. We also need to really lean into the West Florissant development because it's easy to forget. There's a bunch of small businesses over there on the other side as well. And so we need to lean into the West Florissant development, which is going to be a big project done by MoDOT here in the next year or two. and get some good small businesses over there and support them as well. So we've got a lot of good small businesses, but we've got a long ways to go. And the city, with our economic development staff, can play a big part in making that happen.
Adrian, 3 minutes?
Councilman Kazoff has a good point. West Florissant Avenue corridor needs help. The present mayor tried to bring a McDonald's in. He said, no go. We need input from you citizens to give us advice on how we can rebuild that corridor. There's gonna be, I'm on the advisory board of the West Florissant Greenway. There will be construction being done from Stein Avenue all the way down to Ferguson Avenue by the county. That project will brighten the streets up. It will cut down the speeders. They're gonna put the islands in the turn lane. You'll just be able to turn in. You won't be able to pass anybody up. We need help. We need you citizens input on how, one more time, how to market and rebrand that area so it can be a productive area like over where we're at now, over on South and North Florissant Road. That's important because that's part of our city too. That is a vital part of our city because it's sandwiched between 270 and 70. It's a vital traffic area. That could be, we got a hospital there, we got Mercy, we got a Boys Club, we got Urban League, we got Salvation Army. Let's work together to get that area up and going. I love coming eating at our establishments here over here on North and South Florissant Road. I love it. Hey, they got good food. They're friendly. And man, the drinks are good. So that's what I would like to see. Councilman Kazoff, he has good points. Let's all work together to build an area that has been forgotten. An area that was in bad shape even after Michael Brown's murder. That area needed help then. When I moved here, I said, wow, what's going on? Thank you.
Nick, 2 minutes?
So businesses come where there's people to spend money, bottom line deal, okay? And the reason why we don't have businesses on West Florissant is because the city has failed to keep on top of the situation in these apartment complexes. I remember about 2-3 years ago, Versailles Apartments was in the news. That's behind the Urban League. And I went over there and started talking to some people and saw their apartments. And it was disgraceful, the things that the city apparently just didn't notice over there. There was people didn't have hot water for a year, 2 years. There was all kinds of things wrong with these apartments. There was gangs operating. They said the Kia boys were running out of the back parking lot. I don't know if it's true, but it was dangerous. And so what happens in these apartment complexes is the occupancy goes down. Versailles was like, by the time they shut down Versailles, it was like 3/4 empty anyway. There wasn't that many people left to throw out. You can't have a business surrounded by a bunch of empty apartment buildings. So the city needs to be on top of the situation in these apartment buildings, make sure that these owners create a good standard of living for the people that rent there so that they can fill those apartments up with good paying customers If you got customers with money in their pocket, those businesses will come. That's what we have to do.
Comments?
A standard of living. Let's add a word to the beginning of that. A safe standard of living. To my understanding, as our police force grows, we will be putting a substation in certain areas of the apartments. We need the apartment managers to enforce security. The city can't do it all. If you want things to grow and things to prosper, the people that are running the apartment homes have to invest in safety. That's key. Nobody wants to live in an unsafe area. And until they start investing as a complex owners, and there's about four apartments over there that could stand some security. And I mean real security. Aspen Woods, it used to be called Aspen Woods. They have a in and out security person. Why not do that? Security costs. It's not cheap. If you rent our police department out for an event, it ain't cheap. But safety has no price. Thank you.
Next question, and Adrian, you are first in this. What is your vision for the first year as mayor, and what are 3 steps that you would take to improve our community? So what is your vision for the first year as mayor, and what are 3 steps you would take to improve our community if elected?
My vision is unity. I would like to see this all the time. Citizens coming together, respecting each other. I can't feel a bit of animosity or any anger in this room at all this evening. I feel so comfortable speaking to you citizens, and I'm speaking from my heart. I feel so comfortable in here with citizens I've met just today or last night at the event we had at City Hall. I think bringing people together is part of my mission as my first year of mayor. Building up our neighborhood associations again. When I moved here, there were 13 different neighborhood associations. We need to bring the neighborhood associations back for neighborhood safety. You can't have safe neighborhoods if you don't have the people working together to make them safe. Police visibility, that's key. I know they drive around now with their lights shining, and they got complaints about, oh, they're shining lights in my house, but they're in your neighborhood looking, checking things out for you. They serve and protect us. And that's priceless. Safety is priceless. So I think once we start getting our neighborhood associations together, block units. We used to have those. When I moved here, we had block units. We met in the neighborhoods and discussed problems right out on the street. 2 streets over each way came together and met, and we talked about how safe we want to keep our neighborhood. And there wasn't much violence in our neighborhood. There wasn't nobody grabbing door handles then at 9 at night. That's early. It ain't like they're waiting to midnight anymore. They're going right there at 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock. They came down my street doing that a month ago. So when we start Safe Neighborhoods program, that brings us, somebody's always looking out the window. I don't care what time of night it is, there's always, or day, there's always somebody up looking out the window. So I think when we get back to that, that's something I can do. We have a city manager ran city. Thank you.
3 minutes.
First year as mayor, I used to be a cyclist. I say used to be, I've still got a bicycle. I don't bicycle around here anymore because you take your life in your hands every time you go out in the street. You back out of your driveway, somebody might T-bone you. And T-bone is T-bone. It don't matter if it's a black person driving or a white person driving. We want to be safe in our community. We don't want folk pulling our door handles at night. And I always say, if you want anything in my house, just knock on the door. I got TVs that I bought at Walmart 10 years ago. I'll bring it out to the car for you. It's no reason to break a window or kick a door in. But we all want the same thing here. We all want to live in a place that's safe. We want neighbors that we get along with. We want parks that are well maintained. We want businesses that serve our needs. And the city needs to do their part in that. The city has fallen down in so many ways. I get phone calls from people for things that have gone on for months and even years that somebody should have noticed. It was a guy sent me an email last week, and he said, look, somebody's been running a full-fledged roofing company out of a house right down the street from me. And I don't mean that his wife takes phone calls and dispatches people out. I mean a forklift in the driveway and trucks parked in the yard and pallets of building materials all over the place. How do we have a city inspection staff driving all over the city? And that's been there for 2 years. And I looked it up. There wasn't a violation on the place. It's crazy. And then somebody else got a $200 ticket because the grass was too tall. Come on, man. We need to go from the low-hanging fruit that affects the quality of life in our city. Houses shouldn't get to the point of having to be bulldozed. City should have noticed it long before that, and it's not happening. You shouldn't have to call me because there's been a pothole at the end of your block for 6 months. All these city employees driving around should have noticed that pothole. So I want a proactive city government, and I want a city government that's customer service oriented. People say they go into City Hall and they sometimes don't get good service. They get sassed. I quit calling 911 when we had our own dispatch because they would sass you every time you call 911. I figured I'm not going to bother anymore. We got county dispatch now. It's very professional. So professionalism, customer service, proactivity. We need a new day for the city of Ferguson government that is proactively responding to the needs of the people instead of reacting from complaints.
All right. I think I got time for one last question.
I think with 7:35, we need to do the.
It's 7:34 right now. I'm gonna go ahead. It's gonna be real quick. This is a real quick response. Real quick. Please say 4 positive things about Ferguson that you believe would help promote our city. 4 positive things about Ferguson that you believe is 4. I know y'all be like, how we come with 3, 4, not 3 and not 5, but 4. All right. 4 positive things about Ferguson that will help promote our city. Nick, you're first.
Well, I was just talking about this with somebody the other day. And my favorite thing about Ferguson is that when my wife sends me to Aldi to get a bag of salad, it takes 45 minutes to do it. And that's because in Ferguson, everywhere you go, there's a friend. Everywhere you go, there's people you know. I walk home from Ferguson, and this guy right here in the front row is the most guilty of all. I can't walk anywhere. He pulls over, and there goes 20 minutes. But Ferguson is like a small town in the middle of a big city. And it's a diverse small town in the middle of the big city. So, you know, the guy that I bicycle with is a black guy. somebody else that I do other things with might be a white guy. You know, we all work and play together and it don't make no difference. I don't see the kind of division that political people want to put on us. We have this worldwide reputation as being on fire. And you know what? What I see mostly is people love each other. We know that we're not all the same. We appreciate our differences. Sometimes we annoy each other a little bit. But in the end, we all live in the same community as neighbors and love each other and work together. And that's what makes Ferguson special to me.
Adrian?
Would you read the question one more time?
Please say 4 positive things about Ferguson that will promote our city.
Good food, friendly people, nice parks. Number one, the parks and an outstanding library.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, both of you, for providing your time, your expertise, and your answers. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. On that note,
We have closing statements?
oh, closing. Like no mind.
It's not.
All right, we have closing statements, so everyone can go ahead and center back. Closing statements,
5 minutes each.
5 minutes each. First up is Adrian, and then Nick will follow. All right, we'll have closing statements. Everyone just, okay, there we go.
I love my city. You gotta have a strong back to run for mayor of this city, let me tell you. You really have to want to be a part of the change. Move our city forward. You know, I jumped out here and to me, running for mayor, you are the ambassador of our city. And I want a partnership with other communities. That's what being a mayor to me is about. Partnershiping, finding economic development avenues for our city, bringing in stable homeowners. I would like to start a program to train some of the people that are in our rental properties or in the low income housing to be homeowners like me. There's nothing wrong with being a homeowner. Some don't want to be, don't get me wrong. But there are some that just don't have the know-how. And that's one thing, I want the opportunity to be for everybody to have what I have. You can work all your life and rent and look at the amount of money that you've paid, or just a little bit of understanding, a little bit of training, a little bit of financial help can get you a home. And it don't have to be no $200,000-$300,000 home. You can start out like I did at 70, you know, under 100, and I was real happy. I was happy. It was an accomplishment that I never thought that I'd be able to do. Working in construction, you know, I say, oh, well, you know, you get laid off, you know, yada, yada. But there's so many programs to help first-time home buyers. You get with a good lending institution. I'd like to work with banks to give people second-time chances, because a lot of our youth and young citizens mess up their credit. They overdraw their bank account or whatever might happen. They do that. So let's work together with the city. Let's work together with the banks and make somebody's dream come true. And one more time, I want to see our neighborhoods start thriving again. I want to see some economic development. We have byways, we have colleges, we're sandwiched. So why not? We got over 200 properties on the Roots to Roof program. That's where you can buy a piece of property for little to nothing from the city and build a home on it. What an opportunity. And the property won't break you. It's very feasible and very economic. I see our city growing when I want to be able to bring investors in and say, oh, wow, you're building homes here. I go look at Mr. Palmer's homes. He takes a home that looks like the roof is falling in on it, which some have, and he makes it look like, oh, gee, I would want to live in that home. That's what we need. We need other investors to come in and move our city forward. If you get home building, you get people coming in, you get tax base, that's what we're looking for. You get supermarkets coming in. You know, if we show the initiative to want to move forward, we got to have the wanna. And that's important. That's important to me. I want to see that happen. So in closing, I'm happy to be your mayor. Win or lose, I'm still going to be me. I'm still going to be in the community. I'm still going to be on the boards and commissions. I'm still going to talk to you citizens that I met. It was great on this mission that I'm on. It was great meeting all y'all. My red sign's up, but thank you. And get out the vote on April the 7th. Thank you.
Well, there's no doubt that Mr. Shropshire has done a lot of good things in our community. But we're running for mayor. We're not running for a volunteer with the Urban League or something like that. And the fact is that city government, whether we like it or not, has specific functions. And the mayor and the city council and the city staff perform specific things that are defined in state law. I know that doesn't sound glamorous and it may not sound exciting, but the reality that you face as an elected official, and I had to learn a little bit when I came in, although I knew a lot of people on council and I was familiar, but there's a lot of things you can't do as a city. Now, what we can do as a city is we can have laws that make sense. We can have economic development staff that gets the job done. We can have a police department that is proactive for safety. We can have a court system that takes care of the chronic offenders, which we're not doing right now. There are people with 20 warrants out there driving around, and if they get another ticket, they can throw that in the trash too. We got to fix that. Those are things the city can do. We can get laws that don't make any sense off the books. I sponsored law bills that we had car tag bills. You were supposed to buy a sticker for your car. We hadn't done it in 20 years here, but it was still on the books. We had a dog tag. They sold 3 dog tags in a year. And the next year they come up in budget and want $250 for to buy dog tags. I said, if we only sold 3 dog tags, why don't we just get rid of the ordinance instead of wasting $250 on dog tags and throwing them in the trash? So you need to have a mayor who has attention to detail like that. We had a law about dogs, and all it did was ban pit bulls. And the fire department had a pit bull for their pet. So some animal people came to me and they said, look, we need to have a law that deals with dogs in terms of how they behave. So what I did was I authored and sponsored a bill, which my colleagues passed. I can't remember if it was 6-1 or whatever it was, but it passed. They got rid of the breed-specific law and instead made an enforceable law about if the dog does something, then the city can act. If your dog goes after somebody, if your dog bites somebody, now it's on the books where the city can act, where we didn't have that before. If you had a poodle that bit somebody, didn't nobody care about it, but you could have a pit bull that was the best behaved animal in the world, and it's illegal in Ferguson, even though they have it at the fire department. So attention to detail, because people on council have to follow the law, they have to understand the law, and they make the law. And they have to make the law by observing the community, by listening to what you have to say, and by coming up with changes to our ordinance that make sense and move us into the future. That's what council does. Council is not the economic development staff. We provide the resources for the economic development staff, but we have staff for that. And I'm not going to usurp our staff's functions. I'm going to support our staff, and I'm going to give this city the laws and the leadership and the unity to move our city forward in the future. Thanks to everybody who came here tonight. I'd love to have your vote on April the 7th. And if you have any questions, I'm on Facebook. My phone number's on the city website. There's 100 ways to get to me, and I'm always available to you. Thank you.
Let's give both of our candidates a hand.
Yes, and I think Jill wants to make an announcement about another forum that might be held soon.
Good evening. My name is Jill Holtrap, and I'm a board member of the Ferguson Historical Society. And the society had been approached to request if we would be willing to host a second forum. And our board discussed it, and we decided that we would be honored to do that. And so on March 31st, from 6 to 8, at the community center, the event space in the community center, we will be hosting a second forum, and we'll be posting it on social media as well, for our two candidates to speak again. So if there's questions that you didn't have a chance to ask this evening, or if there are people who were not able to attend tonight, we hope you will come to that forum. Thank you.